morning, early birds. This is Dr. Annette Feravich. Did you hear all that squeaking? I just was wondering if you all knew that I was here in the background with all the... We are here in the classroom on day 176. Here we are with the early birds. Not that it's that early. The sun was up when I woke up this morning. Well, it wasn't quite up. I was up early this morning, but it was up by the time I took a shower. The sun was out, and that was nice, which was like 7 o'clock, something like that. Oh, these pillows are horrible on this leather couch, but when you get it right, it's all comfy. Anyway, we are here, as I said, on day 176. It is April 3rd. And early birds, I am here to tell you it is a beautiful sunny day. Here in Michigan, as I enjoy my coffee, which is already made, because as I said, I was up early. Look at our farm animals. Looking good, farm animals. Looking good. Do I have them all in there? Let me see what. Oh, that's that. Yeah, okay. All right. And, didn't put my 176. I don't have a piece of chalk out here. I haven't found a place for the chalk because I just don't want to set it down there because I've got, look at that, small table with so many things. But we are really rolling, aren't we? We really are serious about the classroom. You all thought I was joking. You all thought I'd be here like 1 minute and then, oh, she's so disorganized. She can't even get here. I go, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, what? Okay, let's get rolling. We left off early birds. I know. How does she get so excited about that, pretty average story? Because I wrote one. And I really seriously thought, you know what? All those things. So all those things were real that I thought about in that story, right? I was like, oh my gosh, I have so much to do. And we're starting with World War I. And then, because I'm a believer and I have faith in almighty power, I ended up getting that book right behind the chalkboard here, which is The War to End All Wars. Hold on, you can't see it. The War to End, and plus I'm telling you, you missed my whole reveal. The War to End All Wars, World War I. We are doing that in our Bookless classroom. So let's not forget about that. And as I was saying, that was a nice little godsend, which gave me a little bit more time to be able to write that story. And I liked it. It is my kind of story. It's my kind of story for me to write. It's never over the top, right? Nothing is ever over the top. It's an average, everyday scene in a life. And plus, on top of that, you get what's going on behind the scenes in that person's mind. Oh, it is so my kind of story. Absolutely. So we are setting a goal in writing. Right now, the goal is, how do I put together a podcast? But you know me, it's not about technology putting together a podcast. It's about content putting together a podcast. As I've said numerous times about, numerous podcasts. But it's not like, whatever. I've listened to some mysteries. I've listened to a few podcasts. I don't know. I just think that they are, a long version of TikTok. But okay, mine's not. Not that mine's a long version of TikTok. It certainly is not, for Pete's sake. All right. Unless you made like 60 different TikToks out of it, because, our show sometimes. Whatever. Oh, and what I want to say about that is that I do have some shorts out there. I have 2 shorts out there on YouTube. In order for them, you know how they change it, just like, the American Indian treaties. They just change it. They don't want anybody to really be successful, except for who they deem, to whatever, dumb down the mass population, and they can be successful. Anywho, I know you're watching. I'm so happy you're watching. I really am. I really am. It just does make my day when I think about, what people tell me. Play pretend. Go play pretend, Annette. Go play pretend. All right, I will. Right, early birds? Let's play pretend in reality. That was what my story was. A realistic story. Because these are the things I am most worried about. Making sure that people get real information, not misinformation. And then here we have got like a swarm of locusts eating up every bit of truth they possibly can. Misinformation. Do you suppose that's what God meant with the next plagues that are coming? Like a swarm of locusts is actually eating up all of the truth, just like data on our machines, just and it's called, what was it? Oh, it was Lotus. You know what? I swear to gosh, I told my husband that. Why would you call that so close to locusts? And then all of a sudden you turn it on, it eats up all your data. Yeah, data is the thing, folks. Isn't it? Isn't it? Let's keep going, early birds, before she gets on her whatever. Okay, so we are remembering that we want to find a good place for all of our information. That's the number one thing. That's one of the reasons why, early birds, I organize like this. So I know where my things are. Find a good place to keep all your information, books, printouts, references. They're not all on this table. This table here is inspiration, isn't it? I have this table right in front of me, which is a giant coffee table, which I swear to gosh we had in our house sometime along the way, but we kept kicking it. Okay, all right, you guys are so funny. Anyway, so we're back to the whole idea here is organizing really our thoughts, organizing our knowledge into these nice little compartments as a teacher, right? That I can then unfold for you, just like this book report. I'm going to unfold information for you in a way for early birds that I unfold information differently for engaging a healthy mind classroom, right? Or very different from the way that I unfold information for our mysteries, right? But all of this teaching is really about unfolding information. And when those really limited capacity thinkers think that they're fooling anybody by making it a cash grab to go and put education out online for people to learn and not understand that it really is in the unfolding that allows people to learn, or in this instance, that gives us a story, right? It is in the unfolding that inspires somebody to read a book. It is in the unfolding that keeps us turning the page or coming back to the classroom, right? It is no mystery why people are losing faith in our healthcare system. And Lucy, get in your basket. She has to get in my blanket. Yeah, you. Oh my gosh, if you could see her face as she lifts it up over the blanket. Oh, I heard you could. It is in the unfolding of the story. Honey, get in your basket. Why aren't you laying in your basket? You want to lay by Mama? She might want to lay by me. You know how that goes. She needed a little attention for just a minute. Let me get her basket. By me. Okay, I knew that was only going to take a second, but I decided I would entertain you in the process. Okay, all right. So, again, it is in the unfolding of our stories that makes a good podcast, that makes a good book, that makes a great narrator, right? That's what we're doing. When we are giving other people information from a research book, or from a literature book, or in a podcast. What we are doing is we are, well, I've said it 1,000 times, we are unfolding information in a way that can capture your attention so that you learn something. This is really what I was going to say. The point of it is that's when you're a teacher. That's when you become a teacher. I'm going to decide how I want that information to unfold. Why? So I look good? Well, yeah. But no, that's not the most important thing. You look good when you unfold that information. You look good as a teacher when you unfold that information in ways that will help people learn, that will inspire them to learn. And honestly, that is the reason why I'm always on my soapbox. It's not really hard to inspire people to do things. In this day and age, people might disagree with that, right? People might say, no, it really is hard. What was that? What's that mess? I don't know. Something happened there. I kind of know what happened. It doesn't even matter. So that was our first person, second person, third person look at how we want to think about unfolding a story. But to be perfectly honest with you, early birds, as a writer, and I am a writer, I write these podcasts, right? So as a writer, I don't think about first person, second person, third person. Why is that all gone like that? My tree is gone. Everything's gone. Where's everybody going? Okay. Well, I need to do this because, well, I do not need to do this. But yet she continues, doesn't she? Let me get back over to that last one over here, this one. And this is where I do need to do it. Oh. Oh, I know what it is. There we go. Okay, now I've got it. All right, sorry about that. Technology. Sometimes I do have to stop for technology. All right, so we are always thinking about how to unfold our story, but none of those things, I learned about those things after I wrote some stories. It didn't make my stories flawed. It didn't make my stories uninteresting necessarily, or didn't change my writing habits. It just gave me knowledge about the way writers, but when writers write a book, especially literature, they have stories in their heads all the time. They don't go, okay, I decided to write this in third person objective. No, they don't do that. They are like a mystery writer, and they unfold certain things. So they could be third person objective, or they could be like a real detective in the background, or a real narrator in the background who's omniscient, right? A lot of times when we used to do our church plays on Jesus, what was it? There was a narrator who already knew when Jesus was born, where he was born, what he was going to do, right? That narrator was omniscient. That narrator knew everything about Jesus, but they didn't say everything about Jesus, but that narrator knew everything about Jesus so that the story could unfold, right? How that narrator know everything about Jesus? And we know that the narrator did because of the Bible, from the Bible. How do we know if a narrator in a literature book knows everything? Listen to the way the narrator wrote the book. Is it something like a narrator of a story where the person is telling the story and it is all known? Everything is all known. I didn't put, oh, I did on the other one. He, she, or it with that. Oh, where is it? Now I'm losing it just a little bit. There have been a lot of topics. Let's keep going so that we are not all over the board with our topics. There's my story, right? And the last questions I left you with was, do you think my story is true? How much of my story do you believe is true? And then I put 10%, 25%, 50%, 75%, or 90%. You're like, I haven't learned my percentages yet. Okay, well, it's most of the pie is 90%. Think of it as a pie. 10% is a small piece. 25% is 1/4 of the pie. 50% is 1/2 of the pie. 75% is 3/4 of the pie. And 90% is almost the whole thing except for a small sliver of the pie. How much of the story do you think is true? Almost the whole pie? Half the pie? You know what was interesting, early birds? As I was reading my story, I realized a lot more of the story was true. And I was prepared to tell you that only 10% of the story was true. But that's not true. As I reread the story, there was so much of that story that really was true. But you know what wasn't true about the story? What wasn't true about the story was what I put on my storyboard. The names of the characters, they weren't true. Those are easy to make up, aren't they? I never had a teacher named Miss Alice. And by the way, when I went to school, first of all, they were nuns, so they were Sister Clarence. So we did, and there was a Sister Clarence and Sister Clarita. I mean, really? Sister Theophane? So those are some fake characters that I've seen in my life and some real characters. But Miss Alice was not a real character, and me, and I'm the other person in the story, right? So those are the characters. It was actually, I was going to tell an even sadder story, but the sadder story was going to take a lot longer to take, and it was a fantasy story. And as I said, I'm not very good at fantasy. So I was going to say most of the story isn't true, but actually a lot of the story actually is true. So Miss Alice isn't true, and Miss Alice, I never had a teacher who was gonna write a story and didn't write a story. But what was true about that was me. But I wrote the story, so that part's not true. But it is true, isn't it? Because I assigned it as well. And I do live in Michigan, and I did used to stare out the window during the springtime, waiting for summer to be here because my cousins did come from Chicago. So there was really a lot of the story that was true, but the plot of the story that I was sad because my teacher never wrote a story for our class. The whole plot of the story wasn't true. The reason why I wanted to ask you how much of the story you thought was true, early birds, is because oftentimes when we hear somebody tell a story, and the story is interesting or sounds real, we think more of the story is real than actually is. The whole plot of the story is basically not real. I've had to write stories in class, but not even very often in elementary school. We never had creative writing in elementary school. No way, Jose, we did not. So the whole plot of the story wasn't true, but some of the details were true from my memory bank. Often we think, yeah, that's true. That really happened, right? And we have to really look at our statistics. These are percentages, are our statistics. The probability is a statistics. What's the likelihood that most of that story was true? That's a lot of times what we're dealing with statistics. That's what we say, statistics can say anything because it's all about probability. How probable is it? How likely is it that you will ever make one of these animals? What do you think? You probably already know. How likely is it? Oh, you know what I didn't show you on this one of these on the horse? And I will say that you can knock these over, but they actually stand up. It's not going to be one of those things where kids, they could easily knock them over. So they will frustrate little kids by knocking them over with their sleeves or me with my shawl. I wipe them all out with my shawl. But they actually do stand up pretty readily, pretty fast. You can put them down and they'll stand up. That block is pretty big for their bottom end. But I forgot to show you, I put a saddle on the horse. That's also what you could notice about the horse. So not only does he have a bridle, but he's all saddled up as well. Anywho, how likely is it that you will like coffee someday when you grow up? Those are all probabilities. Those are statistics. We can get it probably will happen. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know how much. Probably not. Those are all probabilities. Probably will, probably won't, maybe, I'm not sure. All of those are probabilities. Okay, let's move on, big thinkers on early bird. Last day, 3 days on, 3 days off. Now, again, I'm trying to get you to think about writing all kind of in the same way, whether or not you're doing creative writing that's completely fantasy, or whether you're doing completely true stuff like a documentary or a research report, okay? So writing a report, well, we already talked about that, a book report. But what about a report that has more facts? That you're not like, how much of that is true? Well, we don't know. We can pretty much say anything with misinformation. No, we want to know, is that true? And if it's called a documentary, then we expect the facts to have been investigated, right? We expect that if we go before a court of law, that the facts have been investigated. They haven't been twisted like a pretzel, right? Okay, so writing a report. Decide what to write about. And there are two different things that I think about when I talk to people about writing. What makes it easy for me to write? If I write what I like and what I know. Those two things make it easy for me to write. What I love and what I know. I love psychology, and I love bringing that sort of psychological know-how to young people. I talked to my husband a long time ago about when I was going to start the character building program, and I knew I wanted to teach older people. But you had to do it in a kind of backhanded way. You couldn't teach them like, oh, this is what Christ would do, because they would stop listening, right? Although sometimes I do that for people who want to listen to about what I think Christ would do, right? Okay, so I thought about how was I going to get it to young people who needed it the most? Who needed, for example, to learn about faith and about God and about morals and righteousness. Although they have them written on their hearts, we have to teach them to go with the good, right? Go with the good when you're younger. And that God will provide you with that instinct for good. It's already there. It's already written on your heart. Right? So I knew those were the things I wanted to teach, but I wanted to teach them to adults, like sort of to show them this is how you teach kids, and to literally teach kids to show them how to teach these all important mental, physical, and spiritual healthy ways of living. That's what the classroom is always been about. Oh, I got my 1 minute short, I think. Okay, or I just wrecked it. I don't know. No, put a smile on your face, Annette. Oh, that's what he said. So decide what you want to write about. Write what you know about and write what you love. Remember, we can always learn more. So really the key is writing or podcasting or talking about or reading about or writing a story about those things that you love, right? I'm not going to write a story about pigs because I don't love pigs, but I do love making cute little farm animals out of foam and wood. That's what I'll talk about, right? I don't love farms or doing farm work. I grew up in the country. I know what a farm smells like. P.U. early birds. P.U. And then you go to think about what we're doing to planet Earth with, whatever. Who even knows? P.U. Suppose they've been lying about all of that too. Okay. So one of the things that you know about and hopefully you love is you. So a lot of times when you're really young, they have you tell stories about you. What do you like to eat? What do you like to do on Saturdays? What do you like to read? Do you like to read? What do you like to watch on TV, right? So those are all those things that they a lot of times ask you when you're in school, especially when you're younger. And that's the reason why, because you know more about you than what? Even the teacher knows about you. You know more about you than even the teacher knows about you. And sometimes teachers may not even like you. So a lot of times you like you more than some of the teachers even like you. Right? Could be. Could be. Okay. Let's take a look at a couple things that I got from Teachers Pay Teachers, and the links are on. I have to make sure I put those links where they belong and make sure that all those links are up and where they belong. I mean, up on in the description. But I have the links here on the slides. And there are our links. So I used another Teachers Pay Teachers. There's several of them up there in those links. I'd still have day 172 because these are the same links on there, starting from day 172 when we started using these Teachers Pay Teachers. Okay, so there are the links for all of my, that's not what I want to do. Teachers Pay Teachers. So let's take a look at that Teachers Pay Teachers. Now that I have my PowerPoint all up there perfectly, let's change our slide, shall we? All right, so here is a Teachers Pay Teachers document, which is called All About Me. So this is one of them I actually had found and may be in one of my classrooms, early bird classrooms that I've already used before. The only reason, it was a while ago if I used it, and the only reason why I think that that is possible is because I had it in my my files, right? I had it in my early bird files and I found this and I'm like, oh my gosh, if they're writing about themselves, this is a wonderful way to start. So oftentimes, early birds, you might have been asked these questions early on in your education career. The reason why, early birds, is because it's something you know about and hopefully you really love. All about you. So here are favorite colors and animals and subjects in school and foods and sports and shows and hobbies and some of the things you do for fun and what do you like to do with your friends and your family activities. What are your talents and what are your goals? And actually, one of the things I didn't do is I didn't get back to this, but I do think, because I changed out one of them, and I don't know if I ended up completing it. So here is the All About Me that is complete. What's my favorite color? Yellow. What's my favorite animal? Well, a giraffe is my favorite wild animal. Lucy's my favorite domesticated animal, my favorite pet, right? What was your favorite subject in school? Oh, so apparently I didn't finish this completely. What was my favorite subject in school? In high school, well, I can't say it was psychology in high school, even though I took a psychology class because I really did not like that teacher, not one single bit. It was one of the, there are a few people I can pick out in my lifetime that I didn't like a lot. And like one of them was a boss that I had, and I ended up leaving business completely because of that boss. And then I went into psychology. So I always look on the brighter side of things. What was my favorite subject in school? It was probably English. That's what it was. What's my favorite food? I love a grilled steak. What's my favorite sport? Hockey would probably, no, actually, you know what I like is lacrosse better than hockey. I liked watching my son play lacrosse. What's my favorite show? Right now, it's Little House on the Prairie. Believe it or not. And what's my favorite movie? It is 100 Greatest People of the Last 1,000 Years. So those are things where you get to know a little bit about me, right? And the teacher gets to know a little bit more about you. So when we're writing, one of the things very early on that we choose often to write about is ourselves. And early birds, even in the story I wrote, that story really is about me, isn't it? Even though I never had a Miss Alice, and even though that plot really isn't about me or something that happened in my life, that story still is about me, isn't it? So when we think about ourselves, when we think about what we're good at, our talents, the things we like, the reasons why we like them, what we are doing is, it's called introspection. I'm going to write that down. And actually, that might be what we're going to talk about in engaging. I haven't decided if I think I'm going to do Bookless, and then we're going to go into engaging maybe the following week. Because we are here in the early bird classroom with 3 days on, 4 days off. We still have 5 minutes. I thought it was overtime, and I am not. She is rocking it today. She's getting stuff done. Never seen anything like it. My gosh. You might write a report on vacations, right? Now let's take a look at what this chart is that I have here. And this is also from another early bird. This was an early bird. I'm writing reports about animals. And the animal report put up these questions. I have that link. And it was a free download about tigers. But the thing that interested me most was the questions. So these are some questions that you might want to think about. Now remember, they don't all fit in these categories. These questions were written for animals, writing a report on animals, okay? Tigers are what? Wild animals. Tigers can what? Run fast, 60 miles an hour. Cheetahs, right? Cheetahs have spots on them. Sometimes they are black and white. Sometimes they are brown and cream colored, right? Something like that. Cheetahs eat. They hunt and they eat. See now how by answering those questions you begin to have a paragraph for a story or for a report on tigers. So answering those questions, early birds, can really help us decide what to write in our reports. And as I said, maybe they don't all fit. So vacations are something that people take, and you might talk about European vacations. European vacations are something Europeans take 4 times a year. But especially in the summertime where the heat can be exhausting. In fact, during the summer, all of Europe closes in the month of July. I just wrote a whole paragraph on vacations where my inspiration was the word are. Vacations are. Also, let me tell you something, early birds, in organizing your ideas, very often that is the first question you answer. So when I teach, for example, a positive psychology class, I answer positive psychology is. Positive psychologists are. It is the definition. What we do, the very first chapter of a textbook, is we tell what that topic is. The same thing we're doing here, vacations, because it's plural, are. If it were to say vacation is, right? So those are great ways to start any report. What is it you're talking about? What's that? What is a tumbling tower block? What is it? Right? Great way to start. No matter what, those are 6 different questions we might think about asking in order to organize our reports. Let me see what's on next. Okay, and then remember, we also had in our Bookless classroom talked about Michigan and a state report. I kind of did a state report for Michigan, sort of, kind of. It was one of those things that sort of inspires me to write this story. I can't ask you to write a state report and not do one myself. That's what I feel, right? So here we wouldn't say Michigan are, we would say Michigan is. Michigan can provide wonderful natural resources because they especially have the largest body of that's not natural water, salt-free water. It's not salt-free water. What is it? Oh my gosh, it just escaped me. It was right there. That we have on the planet in Michigan. What are we doing with our natural resources? Instead of Michigan have, it would be Michigan has. One of the most seasonal climates where they experience all 4 seasons, right? So you can write all kinds of things, and there's our paragraphs. Michigan is, Michigan can about the resources, Michigan has about the weather, Michigan crops, Michigan eat, Michigan doesn't eat, but they do provide, Michigan does provide food, crops. Michigan lives are filled with vacation on our minds because we have vacation spots all over the place, as well as some of the most universities of any state in the United States or any place on the planet. More universities than almost any place on the planet. That's kind of extraordinary, right? And what I like about Michigan, that all helps us prepare our reports in ways that make them interesting and organized. And as the narrator of a report, you're the one who decides what you're going to say first, second, third, fourth. You could stop, you could end your whole thing with. And so that makes Michigan a winter wonderland, a natural resource haven, an environmentally friendly, tree-hugging state, right? So you could end your report with sort of your definition of Michigan. You can organize your reports, your book reports, your research reports, your podcasts, as I'm reporting, any way you want. What you need to depend on are your ideas, your talent, your creativity. This is Dr. Annette Feravich. We are here on day 176 of the classroom. We are here in the early bird classroom. Let me turn some of the stuff off. Thank you so much for joining me. We were here 3 days on. We are now here 4 days off. Get to work. Now the work starts where the wheels have been turning for the 3 days. Now you put it all in motion. Thanks for joining me here in the classroom.